Hello, I'm Brandy with Life in Tents, and in this video we're going to go through a little tutorial on bell tent fly covers. Fly covers aren't necessary for a bell tent, however, they're highly recommended. The canvas itself has a bunch of properties like being waterproof, being fire retardant, being mold resistant, being UV resistant that actually can wear off the more a tent is exposed to the elements of Mother Nature. So by putting a bell tent fly cover over the top of it, it'll help protect the canvas and decrease some of these elements that your canvas can be exposed to. But in addition to that, the cover also helps to make it a lot more comfortable inside of your tent when you're sleeping or just hanging out, because it will actually insulate from hot sun or when there's cold temperatures outside. It provides a nice little insulative barrier between the canvas itself and the actual temperature outside. So right here what we have, this is one of our 5-meter tents. This is a Stella actually, it's a stargazing tent, but it already has a fly cover on it. And what I want to do in this video is go and show you how to put on a fly cover on our 6-meter Fernweh bell tent, which is right behind me over there. So you see the fly's already on the ground and it's ready to go. So I just want to go through some of those steps and show you how to do this. So let's head on over there and start the process to show you how this can be done. So I'm over here at our Fernweh bell tent, and it really occurred to me that I wanted to show you another great reason why you want to put a fly cover on a tent regardless of your situation. This particular tent here, I put up about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. It's rained a bunch, the tent's completely fine. However, there are things that Mother Nature has deposited on the canvas already, and I'm gonna need to spend some time to clean some of that stuff up, which I won't do today. But I'm gonna show you kind of what can happen if you keep your bell tent up for a little bit, and especially if it's under a tree. Just turn around here. So we're gonna walk over and kind of inspect the canvas a little closer. And hopefully the lighting is good enough so you can see this. But what we've got on here is some drippings from this tree. And there are lots of little gifts that this tree has left around here. Looks like a bird left a gift as well. Another great reason to put a fly cover on. Leaves are getting on it, which are fine. Sticks, but you can see there's like a lot of just stuff that came down from the tree. But you see, by deciding to put this tent in a shady location, this is the downfall of that. So just wanted to share that I have a little work to do. After I show you how to put the fly on, I'm going to have to clean some of this up with some of my spare time. All right, so here we are in front of our 6-meter or 19-foot diameter bell tent, our Fernweh, and we also have the 6-meter 19-foot fly cover for this particular tent. So when you get your tent, it'll arrive in a bag inside of a box. And once you take it out, one of the first things you're going to need to do before putting your fly cover on is to tie on all of the guy line ropes to the fly itself. I'd recommend using a slip knot during this process. That way, if you ever need to do a repair or replace one of these ropes for any particular reason, the ropes are easy to come off. But once you tie it on, you probably won't have to ever take it off again. And as you're going through the process, what you're going to want to do is keep an eye out for this grommet hole. Hopefully you can see that right here. This is the key element in installing a fly cover, because it's the very first step when you place this over your tent. And this is going to actually get inserted above the door in that little nipple that your A-frame hole is sticking out of. So as you're going along, look for this. And one other note, take a look at all of your ropes before you actually tie them on and extend them all out, because One of them likely is longer than the rest, and the longest one is the one you're going to want to tie that's going to go right below that grommet, as that one is the guy line rope that is for your front door. All right, what I did to prepare a little bit more is I unfolded the fly cover. It's still folded in half, but I extended it out and kind of organized all the guy line ropes so they weren't tangled around, because I just wanted to prepare myself for success here since I'm going solo. If I had another partner or two and I had like a 6-foot pole, I could probably just go ahead and attempt to drape this over the top of the tent. But that center pole is like 11.5 feet tall, so going through that process isn't always an easy one. But if you have a long enough pole that's not sharp, you could actually take and press the material over the top of it. But just draping it without some sort of a tool isn't really an option. So the best way to handle this is draping the fly over the tent, either A, before the tent is set up, before any poles are inserted, or B, what I like to do if the tent's already up is simply take out the center pole and then drape the fly over it once that's out. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. The one thing you do want to make sure to look for again is that grommet, because that grommet's going to go on top of that door nipple there that will kind of start in the whole process of getting the fly extended out for the rest of the points of the tent. So let's give this a try. So I put in the center pole, and now you see it needs a little bit more of work. I don't know if you can see on the top, but the center cone is off by about 5 inches, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is kind of gently tug around so it'll kind of slip in there nicely, and then go around and tighten all the attach the guy lines to each of the ground pegs that are already out here and tighten them up a little bit. So you can watch as I go through this, and I'll probably fast forward a little. So there we have it. I just went around and tightened up all the guy lines. It's on there, but it's loose in a couple of places. And this is something that you're gonna probably have to troubleshoot on your own as well. Is I just read out of the bag, the guy lines need to be shortened based off of where I have my pegs. So what I'm gonna do right now is go around and kind of shorten all the guy lines. And I could take you with you and just kind of show you what I'm gonna do, so that you've kind of got a good feel for how these should be nice and tight and snug here. Because I will show you a good example is this one right here. This whole thing should be nice and tight like that. Well, I ran out of space to be tightening. So what I need to do is take this knot here and make a new one, like about right there. So I'm going to go around and do that on all of them. That way the guy line rope itself will be shorter, and it'll allow the fly itself to become nice and tight and give a nice space in between the canvas of the tent and the fly itself. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we'll kind of check back in. All right, there we go. I went around and I shortened up the guy lines by tying these knots. You can see, depending at, some are a foot, some are longer. Some over here are shorter, but it allowed me to tighten those up so that the fly itself is nice, tight. And you can see that nice insulated space in there. Allows for airflow on your canvas, allows to insulate, keeps some nice insulation properties going. Now what I could do with these knots is I could actually clip these off and then burn the ends, or I can leave them like that just in case I'm in another setup situation where I might need the longer ropes. The final step that you need to do is to get that covered up, because right in here, water, if it rains, water can go down in here. And what we do is just put the rain cap, we call this the rain cap, back on. Puts a little umbrella over the top there, keeps water from going directly down there and going down your poles of your door and getting onto your floor. So let's kind of step back here and you can see how the full setup looks on this tent here. If you notice up top, we've got ventilation points. Inside of the bell tent itself, there's also ventilation points to help with the airflow and keep condensation from collecting inside, but they're also on the fly so that your vents can still work. Our tents, of course, are fire retardant, and you can put wood stoves in them because there's a stove jack up there, but certainly it'll be pretty difficult to use when the fly cover's on it. And unfortunately, this material is not fire retardant, so we'd advise against installing a secondary stove jack there and exiting any pipe out. Instead, what you'd want to do is exit your stove out the side of your tent with an elbow attachment and have it extend past the fly if you're going to use a stove in the winter time. Just one other piece of troubleshooting. Sometimes on some of these couple over here, we're not getting the lift off of here. And that all has to do with the angle at which this rope is coming down. So we need to increase this angle in the main way that you're going to pull that off, because sometimes you're on a hill that's causing this. There could be other factors as well. But in order to increase the angle, that peg needs to come away from the tent, I don't know, another 6 inches, which will give it more of that angle that it's looking for. And same with those two over there. Because what could happen is that this wall pool, the top of it, could actually start rubbing right here. And if you're in a situation where you just can't seem to get this angle, we actually have a solution for that, is putting those rain caps, the same ones that are on top of the tent over there, on top of those poles, and that actually helps eliminate that rub. So there we have it, the installation of the fly cover. I'm not going to show you how to take it off because I'm going to keep this up for a little bit since it's already getting dirty. But to take it off, you kind of go backwards, reverse the steps. You just want to be careful when you are dragging it across anything so that the fly cover itself doesn't get caught in any sharp pegs anywhere. But then you fold it up a bunch of times and get it back into its bag. But just want to let you know the versatility of these flies as well. The flies themselves can be set up separately, like all by themselves. You could literally take, for instance, this fly, get the center pole from this tent or some other tent, or order a separate set of poles, get the center pole, the door pole, and take and set that out and create a huge sunshade shelter or rain shelter for people to gather in. We actually sell kind of a kit of our flies and the poles on our website. We call it the Umbra Shade Kit. So you can look for that if you want to, but if you just purchase a fly and want to use it for like a party or something, you can do that. But I also recommend taking, like if it's going to rain, you're just doing a night trip, 2-night trip, 3-night trip with the bell tent, bring it with. We do it all the time. You know, it saves from a lot of headache in the morning if your canvas is all wet and you can't really, you don't really want to fold up your canvas wet. So if you put the fly cover on, it really does keep your tent like 90% dry. So you don't really have to worry about packing it up and determining where you have to dry the thing out next. So even on night trips, because you can see, hopefully you saw it was fairly simple to do. But for long-term setups, it's a no-brainer to put a fly cover on, because you could see just from a week and a half, there's stuff already accumulating. And the longer it sits there, the more stuff will accumulate, and the dirtier a tent's going to be, and the more difficult it is going to be to clean off. So what I need to do right now is get a leaf blower, blow some of that debris off under that tent under there that I noticed was there, clean that all up. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to shoot us an email or leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions or brilliant, innovative ideas about a fly cover that we would love to consider and take on. Thanks.